My dear listeners, God has a secret message for you today, so don't miss this important message. Watch this message till the end. God says, life is filled with moments when the truths we thought we knew crumble beneath the weight of hidden revelations. Sometimes, these confessions come from unexpected places, leaving us forever changed. One such confession holds the power to alter not only your perception of a person, but also your understanding of faith, forgiveness, and self-awareness. It was a calm evening, marked by the glow of sunset pouring through stained glass windows. The day had been like any other, but what was about to unfold would leave an indelible mark on your life. You had always thought you knew this person, a friend, a confidant, someone who had walked alongside you through both good times and bad. Yet, what you never realized was that they carried within them a secret, a weight of guilt and pain that had festered for years. They had betrayed your trust in ways you couldn't have imagined. And now, they stood before you, ready to confess the burden they had been hiding. They began slowly, their voice trembling. They confessed their envy, their jealousy, their feelings of inadequacy whenever they compared themselves to you. You had never noticed their inner turmoil, as they always wore a mask of kindness and support. But deep inside, they had harbored a resentment that had led them to undermine you, to speak ill of you behind your back to others, people you held in high regard. These whispers, carried out of envy, had colored the perception of others, sowing seeds of doubt and distrust about your character. As the confession spilled forth, each word hit harder than the last. The very person you had trusted and shared your heart with had used that closeness against you. The betrayal wasn't just in the act of gossip, but in the years of friendship built on a foundation of lies. It felt as though the ground beneath you had been ripped away, Levi. What made this moment even more poignant was that they confessed not only to you but also in the presence of another, someone who held spiritual significance. It was in front of a pastor, a mentor, or even in the presence of Christ Himself, that they bared their soul, seeking not only your forgiveness but also divine mercy. This added an extra layer of gravity to the situation. Forgiveness, after all, is a central tenet of the teachings of Jesus. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus tells His followers, "If you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you, but if you do not forgive others, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." Matthew 6 verses 14 to 15. The words of Jesus echoed in your mind as you grappled with the enormity of the betrayal. Standing before this confession, you had a choice to make. Anger surged through your veins. You had every right to feel betrayed, to demand retribution, to sever the relationship altogether. Yet, another voice, softer, gentler, urged you to consider forgiveness. This voice was not of this world, but rather one that transcended earthly emotions. It was the voice of grace, echoing the teachings of Jesus. In the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "A new command I give you, love one another." As I have loved you, so you must love one another. John 13 verse 34. Love, even in the face of betrayal, was the call to action. But how could you extend love to someone who had hurt you so deeply? How could you find the strength to forgive when your trust had been shattered? To find that strength, you turn to the example of Jesus. In his life, Jesus encountered betrayal in its most intimate form. One of his closest disciples, Judas Iscariot, betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. Yet, even in the face of this ultimate betrayal, Jesus did not respond with anger or vengeance. Instead, he accepted his fate, understanding that it was part of a larger plan, a plan that would ultimately lead to the salvation of humanity. On the cross, Jesus uttered words that resonate throughout the ages. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Luke 23 verse 34. These words were not just directed at the Roman soldiers who crucified him, but also at those who had betrayed him, abandoned him, and denied him. The example of Jesus in this moment of ultimate suffering offered a path forward. Forgiveness, while difficult, was possible. It required a shift in perspective, a realization that holding on to anger and resentment would only cause further pain. In forgiving, you would not only free the person who had hurt you, but you would also free yourself. Forgiveness, however, is not an instant process. It is a journey, one that requires reflection, prayer, and a deep understanding of the human condition. You began by acknowledging your hurt. It was important not to dismiss or minimize the pain caused by the betrayal. To forgive does not mean to forget or to excuse the behavior. It means choosing to release the hold that anger and bitterness have over your heart. As you reflected on the teachings of Jesus, you realized that forgiveness is an act of love. It is a reflection of God's grace, a grace that is extended to all, regardless of their sins. In the Lord's Prayer, Jesus teaches his followers to pray, "Forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors." Matthew 6 verse 12. Forgiveness is not only something we receive but something we are called to give. You not as the sum of their mistakes, but as a flawed human being in need of grace. Just as you had been forgiven for your own transgressions, you were now in a position to extend that same mercy. The confession, while painful, also opened the door for healing and reconciliation. Through honest conversation and vulnerability, the relationship could begin to mend. It would not be easy, and it would take time, but there was hope for restoration. Jesus often spoke about the importance of reconciliation. In Matthew 5 verses 23 to 24, he teaches, "If you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift." Reconciliation is not just about forgiveness, it is about restoring broken relationships. You and the person who had betrayed you began the difficult process of rebuilding trust. It started with small steps, honest conversations, setting boundaries, and seeking guidance from a spiritual mentor. Through it all, you held on to the belief that love and forgiveness could overcome even the deepest wounds. In the end, the confession did not leave you the same. It was a turning point, a moment of transformation. You learned that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It requires humility, compassion, and a deep connection to the teachings of Jesus. It is through forgiveness that we are able to experience the fullness of God's love. The person who confessed to you was also transformed. In baring their soul and seeking forgiveness, they were able to release the guilt and shame they had carried for so long. Through your act of grace, they experienced the power of redemption, a redemption that is available to all who seek it. This journey, painful as it was, became a testament to the power of confession, forgiveness, and grace. The words of Jesus guided you through the darkness of betrayal and into the light of healing. In forgiving, you experienced a deeper connection to your faith, and you emerged stronger, more compassionate, and more aware of the transformative power of love. As you reflect on this experience, you are reminded of the words of the Apostle Paul in Colossians 3 verse 13, "Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." This is the essence of the Christian faith: to love, to forgive, and to extend grace, even when it seems impossible. Jesus' teachings and prayers emphasize love, forgiveness, and humility, offering guidance on how to handle personal conflicts and feelings of betrayal. If someone has confessed something about you to another person, your response, according to Jesus' prayer in the Bible, would focus on love, forgiveness, and the desire for reconciliation. In the Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6 verses 9 to 13. Jesus teaches us to pray for forgiveness and to forgive others. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. This suggests that when faced with hurt or betrayal, we should adopt a posture of grace. Holding grudges or seeking revenge can be destructive, but by forgiving those who have wronged us, we align ourselves with God's will and open our hearts to healing. Jesus also said, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Matthew 5 verse 44. If someone has wronged you, spreading negative comments or confessions, it can be painful, but Jesus teaches that we should pray for them rather than harbor resentment. By doing this, we reflect God's love, which is unconditional and extends even to those who have hurt us. Furthermore, in Matthew 18 verses 21 to 22, when Peter asked Jesus how many times we should forgive someone who has sinned against us, Jesus replied, "Not 7 times, but 77 times." This suggests that forgiveness should be endless and a constant practice in our lives, rather than something we do only once. The spirit of forgiveness is essential for peace. Finally, Jesus' example on the cross, where he said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing," Luke 23 verse 34, shows the ultimate act of forgiveness even in the face of severe injustice. In the same way, when someone speaks ill of you or confesses something harmful, your response can be one of mercy and compassion, following the example of Christ. In summary, Jesus' prayer and teachings call us to respond to hurt and betrayal with love, forgiveness, and prayer. This perspective transforms pain into an opportunity for spiritual growth, fostering peace in your heart while reflecting God's grace to others. Knowing what someone has confessed about you is painful. But your response in line with Jesus' teachings will bring true peace and healing. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe for more videos.